Okay, we're gonna get something here. Pretty important subject. One thing to look at, a lot of women out there want to hate all men, blame all men for everything. It's not all men's fault. To say that all women are treated unfairly because a rich woman doesn't make as much as a rich man does in a CEO position. Oh, Jesus, man. I don't have a CEO position. Most of us in this fucking country don't have a CEO position. What does CEO stand for? Chief Executive Officer. Or, if you ask Morgan Freeman, the HNIC. There's a guy named Eugene Stoner. He's pretty famous. Um, he invented some of the most famous rifles you might have ever heard of. From the Armalite AR-10 and AR-15 to the AR-18. Most of y'all have heard of the M16. The M16 is based off of the AR-15. It was designed by Eugene Stoner. He also invented the Stoner 63 rifle system, which was used almost exclusively by Navy SEALs in the Vietnam War. And there's quite a following of it. Now, there's some folks here in Chapel and we were having a discussion today that I really thought bore mentioning. And this is something that I have brought up before. That's when we were talking about the safety of firearms, of course. The bright orange tips. Here in the United States, we're supposed to have a bright orange tip if it's sold here. That's if it's imported. If you import the parts and assemble it here in the United States, then apparently you can sell it without the orange tip. And I'll show you some examples here in a moment. You might ask what all this has to do with the bollingers. Well, let me tell you something. All of these rumors that were started about me that got all twisted out of shape into shit that they weren't resulted in people dying. Multiple people being killed. Natalie Bollinger getting shot in the fucking head. Multiple people being killed by the police. And the police get off on this shit over and over again. And you guys say, hey, it's not fair that all these officers in all these cases are getting off. And Black Lives Matters wants to point out just the black ones. And then there's all these groups that don't like Black Lives Matters that only want to point out the white ones. I'm like, you know what? We're all getting screwed. None of us are CEOs. When are you going to get that through your head? There's a famous quote that I want to tell you guys. It's one of my fucking favorites. And I'll probably fuck it up, but you'll get the gist of it. Every American thinks he's rich. His ship just hasn't come in yet. Yeah, you're waiting on a ship to show the fuck up. You're waiting on this ship to bring in your cargo. You're waiting on this ship to bring you your fucking miracle. A lot of the people who offered to help me, they got their own damn problems. Now, they're mad because their own damn problems that prevented them from keeping their word is now public. The thing is, them speaking up and telling the truth in court, instead of just allowing these officers and their fucking rhetoric and their bullshit to slide, These people I went to for help, who promised to help, they are just as responsible for those deaths. Candace Bondurant is just as responsible for those deaths. I hold everyone responsible. And there is a reason for this. You guys want a scapegoat. I am a perfect scapegoat. I'm broke, so I don't have the money for a fucking civil lawyer. When you're homeless, which I am at all fucking points in time, fucking couch surfing from place to place, or having to live in low income here in Chapel, Nebraska, you got no idea what that's fucking like. You're like, oh, it's a free house, just don't go anywhere. Are you fucking kidding me? Seriously? Exchange one fucking prison for another? I mean, look at how many videos that I recorded where I made phone calls to those people at low income just for something as simple as fucking paperwork. Or how many times I called up Dave to tell him about my fucking fridge. 4 months it took them to get me another fridge. Like, come on now. Meanwhile, according to the lady next door, they knew that my fridge was broken. She said, yeah, they took the broken one out of my apartment and they put it in yours. Well, that's awful swell of them. And then to talk over me every time that I try to explain to them about that. Like you can hear in the recordings, it's not that I don't say anything to Dave, it's that he's not fucking hearing it. He's talking over it, and why wouldn't he? He already knew it was an issue. He already knew that the broken fridge from her apartment had come over to my apartment, that it did not work. They did not tell me that it did not work. And meanwhile, there's rules that you got on the paperwork versus the rules that Cindy wants to impose. You know, when you're a kid and you want to have a friend over, you got to ask your mommy for permission. Up at low income, I'm supposed to have 14 days where somebody can visit me. 14 days, that's 2 weeks worth of time where someone can visit me. But Cindy is insistent that if I have someone stay just for one night, that they have to fill out fucking paperwork to stay there. Are you fucking kidding me? That is secluding me from my loved ones, you fucking bitch. Meanwhile, I have had no help from any of these people getting this paperwork. When I try to get it, I'm denied, 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 denied. And then I call up people and say, hey, I'm trying to get this paperwork. I'm being denied. Oh, well, they can't do that. That's against the law. Are you sure you didn't just hear them wrong? I fucking recorded this shit on YouTube. Maybe I did record it wrong. But I can go back through because it is fucking documented. Why is it documented this way? Look at how many times I've gone to the cops to try to get help and nothing has fucking happened. Look at the fact that the cops that I have been trying to turn in and have been repeatedly denied the right to are the same cops I still have to go to. Now let's take a look at these things on the wall. This one right here, bright orange tip, right? Also, it's got a tank in the back, and of course, it's something that I didn't know about these things when I got it is that they do have pretty faulty seals. This is where the CO2 cartridges go in. It's in the back end of it. Now, there's obviously no magazine here. This little piece of plastic here, it's a green thing. I need a black rubber one, and I have one right over here somewhere. So I just gotta get that off. But these things are so not easy. I don't have a wrench or anything to take it off of there. Anyway, this right here, it's modeled after an AR-15 M16. You know, the gun designed by Eugene Stoner The one that you see in the Vietnam War and all that. This is modeled after that. And although it's a bright blue color with a, bright muzzle, if I was going out and about in the dark with this thing, you might not be able to tell that it's bright fucking blue. It does have a slight sheen to it, so there's a possibility that if there's some lights or something shining off of it, the light would reflect back, and then you can't tell what color it is. Now we got this discussion that I was telling you all about. This right here, the gentleman that I was speaking with today, he said, what's to stop somebody from getting some bright orange spray paint and just spray painting the tips of a real gun? But then that got me asking the question, well, what's to stop somebody from taking, if you can take a real gun and make it, look like a toy like this just by spraying the tip, if you think that's all that it should take. Because, I mean, there's all of this that if you're at an angle from there to there, or if you're, it's obstructed by your body, you've got a whole bunch of other, if they can't see the orange tip, they can't see the orange tip. But let's say someone decided that, like, you guys saw that movie, I'm sure those of you who remember the 80s, you saw that movie where the assassin, he puts the pistol in the video recording device, and he goes in and pretends he's part of the press or the media. And it's a silenced pistol that's inside of a microphone that's on this camera. What's to stop people from putting firearms in daily objects like that? Well, obviously they already do. What's to stop? Let's say I wanted to take a real AR-15 or M16, and I wanted to paint it bright fucking red like this, right? So then I got this bright fucking red thing right here, that's obviously this one, bright orange tip. It's not going to shoot anybody. It's got a dust cover that does open and close, but it's just a giant piece of plastic. The forward assist doesn't work. The cocking lever on the back doesn't work. It's just a toy. I mean, and this one literally is. I mean, it fires Nerf darts. They're little foam darts. They're not going to hurt anybody. But if this was painted straight black, like let's say I took a black spray paint can and spray painted the whole thing. Well, now I've got a toy, that I thought it would look cool if it was realistic looking. And now I've got this realistic looking thing that is likely to get me shot. We're not just talking about the police who are likely to shoot you. If you got this thing out first thing in the morning and you're messing around with it or walking across town with it and people are taking their kids to school, yeah, somebody might take it upon themselves, just out of fear of what you might possibly could do, might put a bullet in you. Might blow your head right off your goddamn shoulders. And this is Nebraska. Lots of guns here. There's more guns than people in this state by a lot. But then let's say you take a super soaker, you want the super soaker, you want it to look like a real gun. There's modifications for that. They got different Nerf stuff where you can take different Nerf kits and you put different parts and pieces together and you can make it look almost like it's an M16. I mean, sure, it's all these brightly colors and stuff, but it goes beyond just a paint job too. I mean, there's a lot of people who get really into their AR-15s. They get really into their airsoft shooting. They want to go out and play war out in the woods. One of these jamborees, I guess that's what they call it. One of these jamborees they had several thousand participants. This is a bunch of people with, airsoft guns like this one right here, and it's got an orange tip on it too. But just like this one, it's modeled after an AR-15. It's modeled after the same rifle. So this one right here, when I first got it, it came with some extra stuff, um, but it doesn't have an opening ejector port. It's just a piece of molded plastic that's meant to look like there is. This should be, of course, pointed at the ground and not up in the air. This came with a flashlight on it, and I put it on this one. And it also came with a forward grip, and I put that on this one. So this is basically just a cheap piece of plastic. I mean, it don't weigh nothing. It's nothing at all. Maybe a pound, if if that. I mean, it doesn't weigh anything at all. But it looks pretty fucking realistic. Let's say I broke the tip off on accident, or something of that nature. Then this is something I can't even take outside because it looks too real and it might get me shot. The fact that it's plastic doesn't make any difference from 20 yards. It's difficult to tell from 20 yards, especially when you've got something that's meant to look like a real military style rifle. Um, and it's the right colors. It's not bright red. It's not bright blue. Now this one right here is spring powered, so I have to pull back the cocking lever for every single BB that I fire, and that's the one that fires the big red one. First Infantry Division, I guess. No, but you see that? It's just that's plastic. It's this is what guys actually go off. They put on those masks. They do basically like a paintball war, except they're doing it with those little dinky red things. And there's also white ones. There's some that glow in the dark, so you can go pick them up afterwards at night, and all sorts of stuff. Now this is the part where I get to pull out my phone. There is, let's see if this computer will allow me to see it too. There's a bunch of air rifles. The actual BB guns and pellet guns do not have to have an orange tip if they are manufactured or assembled in the United States. Part of the reason for that is because they are actually legit used for hunting. Yes, you can hunt small birds with a pellet rifle. You're allowed. You can go varmint hunting with a BB gun or a pellet gun. A varmint, something that would be considered a varmint, would be like a muskrat or mice or rats or, in some case, squirrels. On the East Coast, I guess around Thanksgiving, a lot of people in the South, something that's common is squirrel soup, squirrel stew. I've never tried it. People in this area, you tell them squirrel stew, and they look at you like, yeah, that's like eating a rat. But there's these guys that, they're trying to take something that is just a BB gun, and they're trying to make it look as realistic as possible. If you've got one of them jamborees going, I'm sure that they have to have a lot of advertising ahead of time, and you also have to coordinate with law enforcement to do this. The reason for that is because you got a bunch of dudes who are walking around with something like this, something that looks like this, they might have all sorts of different parts and pieces that are attached to it, but it does not have a bright orange tip on it. Now, a lot of y'all notice that I do break open the actions on the ultimate realistic looking ones because it's difficult to tell it from a real firearm. It is that realistic looking. Now, this one right here is so realistic, it even has a serial number. Of course, it's also got a plastic receiver, so obviously it's not something you're going to go out and fucking shoot real bullets through. It's fucking plastic. but it's a lot higher grade of plastic, you know. It says Crossman Full Auto R1 right there. And it this one fires steel BBs. This one is not one that you're going to want to use for airsoft. When you're talking about something big and plastic that's traveling at, 320 feet per second versus something like this that's firing a heavy, small steel BB at 420 plus feet per second, there's a big difference there. I mean, this right here will shatter your eyepiece, your protective lenses, whereas, one of those is going to bounce off of it. But the same thing kind of applies with a lot of those, because there are so many guys here in the United States that they want to be able to do what Europeans can. Europeans, I've been watching a lot of these videos, and a lot of them are made by people in England or people in Scotland, or people from France or Germany, places like that. They don't have the orange tip rule. And that, by the way, is an import law. It's not an ownership law, and it's not even a sales law. It's a uh, law to limit importation of. At the time that those laws were made, we really didn't have but a few BB gun makers, and they made, like Daisy, the Daisy air rifles. We didn't have anything even close to approaching what a lot of these other countries were coming up with as far as BB rifles go. They were coming up with some stuff that looked like military stuff, and we weren't really making anything except toys at the time that did that. Lights and electronic sound, maybe a Nerf gun, but probably not. You get that $5.99 set at the cheap store of the knockoff brand, Vietnam combat set or whatever, and the gun's this fucking long. Nobody's gonna confuse that for a real fucking gun. But then you've got these guys who want to do the reenacting, or they want to really get into the feel of it, make them feel manly. And like this right here, this breaks open just like a real rifle would. It's got this right here is the part that you pull on, and it cocks it, and it makes it look like it's got a real bolt in it. And that's part of the reason for taking it apart for y'all. So y'all know that this is not a real functioning AR-15/M16 variant. And yes, you got to read the part that said Crossman, which is obviously a BB gun company. But that's not the point of this. The point is the realism of it. When we're talking about some of these BB guns, this one right here, it's not even close to, the really, really, really realistic looking one. You push this little thing out right here, and then it pops open. And you can see the trigger grouping in there. Anybody who's familiar with an AR-15 M16 trigger grouping knows that's not it. This is some sort of funky pump master thing to interact with these pieces up here. Here's one part of it. This goes in the back. This is just basically a weight. And it's a piston thing here. And this right here is the bolt carrier group. Let's pull that out so that we can get them out. This is what the bolt carrier group actually looks like. It's called a faux. It's fake. It's got this little air piston in there with a gas seal on the end of it that's made out of this green plastic crap that doesn't work very good. I used up a couple of CO2 cartridges off green crap like this, and those things right there. Those are from Umarex. It's the UMAREX REKT, and it's pump action, But when you've got this right here, it's not even a high dollar one, but it's meant to look, even the bolt is meant to look like it's real from the outside. And then you've got a lot of other ones like the Tokyo Marui, and it's like a $500-600 thing. You know, that's 3-4 times what this thing costs. And the Tokyo Marui, it's even more realistic looking. I mean, it's got you can pull out the bolt. The bolt looks almost real. It obviously, if you look at it at the bottom, it doesn't look real, but it's made with the hexes in the front like they would fit into a real AR-15. They just don't turn and lock into place like an AR-15 would. It's got a hole in it. Instead of having a firing pin that goes through a little hole, it's a much bigger hole, and it pushes a BB through it. And I can show you on the magazines how that all works. We'll take these pieces right here and set them down. This is the cocking lever. This is called a forward assist, but if you look on this, it's just a piece of plastic that's glued in place. It just looks the part. The Tokyo Marui, and then there's the, I want to say the G4S is one that's made by South Korea. They're just starting to get into that market. A lot of these companies do make AR-15 and M16 parts and receivers. They're actually taking the very same billets that are used to make an M16 receiver, and instead of cutting out to make an M16, they cut out extra pieces to make it so that it can't be converted. The pieces are meant to look on the outside like they're M16 pieces, but internally they work entirely different. And some of them, like, you know, with this piece right here, it's just faux. Or this piece right here, it's just faux. Now I can show you what a real M16 bolt and bolt carrier looks like. It's nothing like this. Let's see. M16 bolt carrier. Images. All right, this is what a real M16 bolt carrier unit looks like. We'll see if it'll allow me to show that on here. That's what a real one looks like. You know, it looks kind of like this thing, except it's all the way around. Whereas this, the only part of it that you can see is the one side of it where it's meant to look like it. Because underneath it looks and works and functions entirely different. This one is a low grade look-alike. And you get into a lot of these guys who are trying to make their BB rifles look like actual guns. And then you've got a lot of people, I'm not sure if you guys have looked this up, look up Betty Boop guns and Hello Kitty guns. These are guns that are primarily targeted towards women. Now, I don't know why pink is primarily targeted towards women so much. I personally love the color pink. I think it's the manliest color out there because most of the men I know are scared of pink. But, you know, you're making them cartoon themed. Now it's going from the realm of being a functional firearm that is meant for home defense to something that you are treating and thinking of as if it were a toy. A lot of that does come from the novelty of it all. Many of the people that I know that are firearms owners that grew up with guns in the house, their guns sit there. They don't do anything, you know, unless they're hunting or, you know, something similar. If there's not an emergency, the gun stays where it's at. All of these have collapsing butt stocks. This one right here is only like 20 bucks. Not this one. This one's more expensive than 20 bucks. This one's like 20 bucks. It's cheap. It's the cheapest plastic piece of crap that you can get, but it looks more realistic than these Nerf things, which are about twice as expensive when you get them used. They're about $80 a piece for those when you buy them brand new, but you get them for about half price if you know where to look or you're willing to be patient. Um, a lot of this stuff, I mean, if you look at the color of it, like this is just a cheap plastic flashlight, with a blue light on the end. But then when you start looking at the whole situation, I mean, they can't tell anything behind that. That's a magician's trick, and I'll show it to you real quick. You got the lights off, and I'm sorry for pointing this at my computer. There's no people on the other side of it. But you see right there, you can kind of see the front end of this. You can kind of see my face a little bit. But the moment I turn on the light, you can't see squat. You can't tell if it's real. You can't tell if it's fake. You can't tell nothing. And a lot of magicians use that. It's a lighting trick. They use that along with black props and black clothing and a black background to prevent the audience from seeing things that are hidden. But you look at the Hello Kitty rifle. If you saw a woman walking down the street with that Hello Kitty rifle, it would not fucking occur to you that this is a real gun. You would look at that bright fucking pink Hello Kitty rifle as if it were one of these. I mean, on the one hand, you can paint this right here, get out all the masking tape and all the paint and everything so that you can paint this so that it'll look like this. But at the same time, you can do the very same thing the other way around. If it's not a functional military firearm, what purpose does it have for looking like one? Except to get you shot. Sorry. I should actually show you that Hello Kitty rifle, because when I looked it up, the Hello Kitty rifle that I saw was an AR-15, and when I looked up Hello Kitty rifle, it showed a whole bunch of them. So I'm going to look that up. Hello Kitty rifle. Now, you might not believe it. This one right here, this is an actual AK-47. I don't know if it's going to show it. It's bright pink and hot pink and lightly colored pink and white. It don't look like a real fucking gun. That one's kind of scary, isn't it? Girls with guns, right? Every dude thinks that a girl with a gun is sexy, right? That's what we're sold and that's what we're told. So, of course, you got to have women who pose with the rifles, and that's pretty important. Of course, then you don't pay any attention to the rifle, do you? Why won't it zoom in on that? That one, it looks white from where I'm looking at it because I'm looking at my screen. It's showing me what I'm pointing at. But that's one Hello Kitty rifle. Here she is again with it. It's pretty tall. She's pretty short. Hopefully it'll focus in on that, but I don't know if it will. There it did, sort of. And then, well, here's a guy with another different variant of the same rifle. It's got different buttstock options. Y'all remember they were talking about how we got to get rid of Joe Camel because it was basically convincing kids to smoke cigarettes because cartoons or whatever. Well, these are being marketed specifically towards women, of course, not necessarily children, but the fact that it looks like a toy really does put a lot of things in perspective. Here's another one. This is a little bit darker pink with, of course, white highlights, and this one's got the adjustable folding stock. Looks like a toy. Looks like a toy. How scary is that? I mean, there are, just typing Hello Kitty rifle, here's another AK-47. Hello Kitty AK-47. Looks like a toy. Now, then there's also Deadpool. There's Deadpool themed AR-15. So then, you think, hey, this Marvel stuff is all real big this day and age. They're probably making Marvel AR-15s. And with Deadpool, it makes perfect sense. I mean, shit, you could make Deadpool Glocks. You could make Deadpool Smith and Wessons. You could probably make a Deadpool Gatling gun, and they would put it in the next Deadpool movie. I mean, Deadpool is like the gun dude. Well, guns and swords and knives and hatchets and explosives, and basically his superpower is that he can't fucking die, so he's reckless and careless and a fucking idiot. But I'm hoping you're starting to get my point. Military stuff. When I first started, when I made Trash to Treasures and Airplane Enthusiasts, which is a group on Facebook, it was because I like airplanes, and I also like the idea of recycling. At that point in time, I was picking up trash and water all the time. But I started a thing called Swords to Plowshares, and I started looking at military technology, and I was like, we got to figure out some civilian use for all of this military crap. I mean, if we're not going to invest our money into a positive future, and we're going to invest all of our money into a future of war, we're going to have futures full of war. If we're going to go, all right, well, we can either invest this money in making sure our people are fed, or we can invest this into protocols and resources to quell an uprising. So what do? You buy the guns, you buy off the politicians, you hire the police, give them more guns, set them up, basically concentration camps for homeless people and the disabled. And then we call them jails and prisons. Um, a lot of these different rifles, air rifles, being made to look like they're realistic, and then realistic ones made to look like they're toys. The thing that I noticed when I started Swords to Plowshares is that military stuff is pretty fucking specific. I mean, there's some stuff that you could really go out of your way to try to force it to fit that format or that platform. Like, let's say the AH-1G Cobra helicopter, for example. That's the Vietnam era. It just has one engine. It's the very first attack helicopter ever to be put into service. And today they use them for Firewatch. Down on the bottom where they had that turret with the 2XM turrets, which they're basically miniature Gatling guns that fire 7.62 ammunition. They replaced that with a bunch of gear for spotting hotspots in like forest fires. You get a forest fire that you can't see any flames, you think it's out, but there's burning embers all over the place, and you got to get up close to see them. So they use these helicopters to try to direct people in there. The problem with military stuff is that it's specific. This is military shit. It's meant for killing people, and if it's not meant for killing people, it's meant for the maintenance of the people who have to run those machines that kill people, or the maintenance of those machines themselves. So when you've got toys that are modeled after military technology, you're increasing the risk for your population. If you're a responsible toy maker and you're going, oh, well, I'm going to make this toy, and wouldn't it be cool if it looks like the stuff that the big boys use for murdering each other? Well, yeah. And what are they going to do with those? It looks like the same rifle they're shooting each other with on television. Oh, yeah, we're supposed to point them at each other like they do on television. And what are we really getting at here? Meanwhile, Ted Bollinger gets busted with this is a felon who fucked his own daughter, had his own daughters strung out on drugs and selling drugs on Pearl Street, and sold their bodies to pay off his debt. And this guy is actually on drugs, actually strung out on meth, whereas people had to pretend like I was. This dude is seriously on fucking meth. Not people pretending. No, he was busted with the shit on his fucking person. Not some dude or some fucking crazy lady saying, oh, well, he's probably on drugs. No, he got busted with the drugs. So Ted Bollinger has been busted with the drugs repeatedly since Natalie's death. Also, Alicia Bollinger, despite the things that Ted did to her and her sister, well, the police keep letting her walk away from the situation because she's cute and innocent looking. You don't think she had anything to do with that high-speed chase or the 18 grams of methamphetamine that her and her dad were busted with through a high-speed chase in two different states? And what happened? Alicia went missing. Why did Alicia go missing? Because first of all, the cops didn't charge her with the fucking crimes that she committed. They set her up with a room. Something that they wouldn't do for me. See, this is something that y'all don't want to pay attention to. With all of the resources that they had, and I didn't have those resources, the police, their idea of helping me was to cut me off from my resources and refuse to hear anything I have to say or look at any evidence. Meanwhile, they're letting Alicia Bollinger walk away repeatedly from these situations, paying to put her up in a room because she's a female, because she's pretty, because she's young looking and vulnerable. But you look at where they put her up in Kansas City. Or in Kansas, sorry. Yeah, that's probably not a good neighborhood to drop her off in. But she's young and pretty, so everybody wants her attention. If I walk down the street, shit, I gotta be happy if people aren't throwing shit at me, spitting at me, calling me names, or fucking being assholes. Yeah, I'm surrounded by people who are leaving me alone. That is fucking great. For her, it's not like that. For a lot of girls, and you want to pretend like you don't know about the how pretty doesn't make a difference, but you're painting yourself up because you know that pretty makes a difference. You use that makeup for the same reason that evil people use their religions. It's for manipulation. If you want that dude and you doll yourself up for him, maybe you can manipulate him into fucking liking you. And then you tell us, oh, well, we only have to do this because of men. No, I don't make you do that. Shit, if Miley Cyrus was up there singing in fucking sweatpants and a sweatshirt with no fucking makeup, I would have a lot more respect for her as a musical artist. Because for the most part, it appears to be visual art. And that's not to say that she can't sing. But there's a big fucking difference between what you're selling and what you're getting. I was assaulted so many times over the fact that All of this slander was out there, but I wasn't allowed to defend myself against any of it, or have a court date, or get anyone to fucking look at it, not even my friends. They were busy giving me fucking lip service. And after months and months of lip service, where I have no resources and I'm investing all of my resources into trying to get the help that I need, and I'm trying to spend all of these resources on the things that they want me to do, like, holy hell. I'm telling you right now what it is that I need. I'm telling you right now that no matter how many times you tell me I'm intelligent, that doesn't detract from the fact that if you don't go in with me, I'm not going to get treated intelligent. I'm going to get the mentally ill treatment. Now, Scott DeCosta here in town, he said on more than one occasion, well, I didn't say mentally ill. It doesn't matter if you use the fucking word. You give them the same fucking treatment. Now, then we've got this problem where a lot of women, there have been no consequences for them in their lifetime for bringing actual harm to men because they just don't want to deal with it. Oh, well, I don't want to be an adult about it. And I get your frame of mind on this. After you fuck somebody over so severely like that, and then you hide because you're afraid. Well, yeah, you're damn right you're afraid. You did something fucking wrong. But instead of hiding, maybe you should try being an adult about it and talking it out with that person. See, things that Natalie was pretending she was paranoid that I would do, she knew I wouldn't fucking do that shit. She fucking knew better. But she was also strung out on drugs. And she was using that I'm cute and sweet and innocent thing. She's like one of them fucking Hello Kitty rifles. Yeah, it's pretty and it looks like a fucking toy, but it's still fucking dangerous. So, because of all of the assaults that I had to endure at the hands of many people who are connected with the Bollinger family, and I have shown time and again all of this shit so many places, well, at least as best as I can with my abilities. But I keep posting it up, and it's like it falls on deaf ears. And it really does. When you're called mentally ill, everybody is a deaf fucking ear. At first, all of these people who called themselves my friends were like, oh, Sean, you're intelligent, you'll figure it out. No, here's the thing. When you are called mentally ill, you don't get it figured out. There are roadblocks in place. Literally, all of your rights as human beings are legally denied to me. Legally, because of the term mentally ill. Legally, the only thing that I can do to defend myself is to have someone else defend me. That's it. You can't do that if you don't show up in court. You can't do that if you don't go in with me to talk to the police. If you are going to drop me off in the hands of people that you know to be predators, knowing that the difference between me being victimized by those predators again and possibly getting to show the truth is you being there, maybe you should be there. Maybe when you say that you're going to show up, you show up. Mandy Hughes. If you have to reschedule, you got to reschedule. When you tell me that you're gonna and tell me that you're gonna, and then the day of you tell me that you can't, for whatever reason it may be, whether your son got his jaw broke, or your daughter, Alyssa Rainwater, has MRSA and is in the hospital with your other daughter, or you just didn't apportion very much time to it, or you had your own family issues, whatever they happen to be. And that's the thing about those phone records. Losing those phones was crushing. Luckily, a lot of these people I messaged with in Facebook Messenger. So I had it backed up anyway. That's good for me. But then, when we're talking about me literally having to, I'm against killing people. I'm not sure how many of y'all realize that. But if I've got a water pistol that's filled with jalapeno juice, it's an 88-cent water pistol. It looks like a water pistol. It doesn't look like an AR-15 or M16 variant. It looks like a cheap 88-cent water pistol from fucking Walmart. And it's got jalapeno juice in it so that I can defend myself against people like Derek Apodaca and other friends of the Bollinger family. Holy hell. And then Ted, meanwhile, Ted gets busted with an actual firearm in his vehicle. And he is not the only one of my predators who has firearms. Most of these police officers, like Waylon Lolatai, who committed these crimes, have firearms. You call somebody mentally ill, they're not allowed to have firearms, which means that I'm not even allowed to defend myself against someone with a fucking gun. Get that through your fucking heads, dumbass. If you shoot me and I am unarmed, if I don't have any weapon anywhere fucking near me and you shoot me, you can get away with it. Ah, somebody from a restricted number. We know what these are, don't we? Harassment calls. Jeannie Bell Black. Hi, Jeannie. Now we know how these calls are going to go. This person is going to call me and harass me for probably 20 to 30 minutes at least, if not 5 to 6 hours, like they have on many occasions. I need someone to go in with me when I talk to the police, no matter what. When you're talking about the number of times that I've been victimized, and every single one of these crimes, I need someone to go in with me, or I am going to be given the mentally ill treatment. Oh, we got another retard coming in here bitching about stuff. Fucking do something to pacify him and get him out of my goddamn office. We don't help retards. And that is how the United States is. Anybody with Down syndrome, cerebral palsy, autism, we're thrown into the retard column. But then there's also the issue of mentally ill. You pretend like these things are okay to do to us, and you call us mentally ill to justify it. You know what's mentally ill? Making me a target, telling me that I'm not allowed to defend myself, and then forcing me to move on. How stressful is it to fucking move? How expensive is it? How difficult is it emotionally for you to leave the people that you care about? I've moved over 40 times in the last 4 years. 40 times. It's expensive. Maybe I should turn off the vibrate too. Let's see. Yeah, that was that restricted caller again, but I turned down the volume so they can't bug me too much. I just look over and see if it says restricted or if it's somebody important. There's a lot of stuff you guys tell me, oh well, you're talking about white people problems. White people problems. White people problems. Dude, I don't live in a fucking $6 million mansion. I don't. I've stuck up for minorities my entire life. Because I see what they go through and I see what I go through and I can see the fucking comparison. And that's where a lot of people have a problem. See, a lot of these white people are going through the same shit these black folks are going through. But when it happens to a white person, they're like, hey, it's fucked up. It happened to a white person. And when it happens to a black person, they're like, oh, well, that black person probably deserved it. Hold on a second. So the scenarios are exactly the same, but it's really that different because of the color of their skin. Like they can't be victims because they're the color of their skin. Men have to deal with that. We can't be victims because we have penises. When we're raped, we just have to shut up and take it because we have penises. And then we have to deal with man haters who want to pretend like all men did these things, and those of us who are victimized, even those of us who are victimized at the hands of women, and many of y'all are noticing that there's more female child molesters than males. Now, how is that possible? The numbers don't show that. The numbers don't reflect that. They're starting to. See, it used to be back during the 1980s, if you had sex with your teacher, people were like, oh, wow, dude, fucking, really? You had sex with Miss Bison? Fucking rock on, dude, high five! But you look at this, in under 3 years, we've got over 200 teachers, nearly all of them female, getting busted for this shit. I mean, we've got lots of male teachers who are getting busted, but are they getting busted for having sex with their students? In most cases, no. In most cases, they're getting busted for having child pornography on their computers, or they're in trouble for watching porn at school, or things of that nature. But you look at the women who are doing this, we're talking about grown ass women having sex with 12, 13, 14-year-old boys, getting a fucking slap on the wrist. You get a 5-year sentence as a female. That's a lot of fucking time. For a dude, you're looking at 20 to 30 years easy. But then you look at a woman who's looking at 5 years on the rough side, and they give her a year, and then they let her out after 3 months because she's female. So after 3 months, she's out there and about, able to do this to somebody else's little boy. But it's not a matter of whether it's right or wrong. It's a matter of whose gender it is. You're not going to go knocking on that female's door and go, hey, get out of my town or I'm going to fucking come over with a shotgun next time. You do that to the women? No, but you do it to a lot of the men, don't you? And you don't bother to find out the validity of what is being said or why. One guy in town, he's on a sex offender registry for 25 years. Now, the story, I've heard several stories about it, but apparently the story that's the popular one is that he was 19, his girlfriend was 17, and her parents didn't like him. Another story that I heard is that he was dating somebody when he was 19, and there was a 17-year-old girl that he didn't want to have sex with, and because he didn't want to have sex with her, she ran around spreading rumors. Now, I'm going to tell you, first of all, that's common. That is extremely common. Now, when we got Ted Bollinger, who is Natalie and Alicia's actual predator, not that these girls feared him doing these things, feared that he might possibly could do these things, but that this man actually did these things. This man actually, on at least 4 separate occasions since Natalie's death, has been busted with methamphetamines on his person. On at least one of those occasions, he had a loaded firearm on his person. Natalie Bollinger and Tim Beeson, their solution for me was to fucking murder me. That is exactly what they were talking about doing in those messages between her and Tim before Natalie was fucking killed. Now imagine how fucked up that is for me. That I am being harmed by her actual predators, men who actually did these things, And I'm being treated like I'm one of those guys. And she is having those guys do harmful things to me. She's going to them for legal help. When I went to my friends for help, I got treated like I was a stalker. That's how Natalie and her fucking cronies tried to fucking play it off, because I was trying to get help to stop the violence and the cruelty towards me. I must be a stalker. If I ask for help, I'm a stalker. If she asks for help, she's this pretty little M16, hot pink and bright fucking white with flowers all over. There's a type of mantis in Africa that looks like a flower. It's a beautiful mantis. It still kills bugs and eats bugs. I think wolves are beautiful. They are beautifully formed. I mean, I even love the way that their coats are layered and what each of those layers does. I mean, they are beautifully designed creatures, but they still kill stuff to eat, don't they? That's what they are. They're predatory animals. You guys want to pretend that I'm a bad guy for the desperate shit that I did. I had to do those things. A lot of you say, oh, you didn't have to do those things. You could have gone to the police. I did go to the police. Oh, you didn't have to do those things. You could have gone to a therapist. I was seeing 3 different therapists before Natalie was fucking killed. Oh, Sean, you didn't need to do that. You could have gone to the hospital. I went to the hospitals fucking repeatedly. And then there's the fact that all these people think it's as simple as saying, all right, I want you to mail that stuff to me. You got to have a mailbox to send it to. You have to have a safe place to receive that mail. Shannon Alvarado's was not a safe place to receive the mail. I was waiting on my stuff to get there so I'd get the fuck out. I mean, I needed Graham to keep his word to send that shit to me. But how are you gonna put something like that on a goddamn stoner who hides behind Christianity? Yeah, it doesn't matter if you give him fucking $50 to send the shit through the mail, and he says that he's going to do it on Friday. He's not going to do it on fucking Friday. He might not even get it done this fucking year. He might procrastinate for 8 fucking months, get into an argument with his girlfriend, get evicted from the place, and then all your shit's thrown the fuck away. That's what happens when you don't have a safe, stable environment. Shannon Alvarado's was not a safe, stable environment. You listen to the fucking thing between me and Rick McCormick. You listen to the way that he's fucking screaming. No, he's just a fucking evil, hateful fucking dickhead at that point. And that's the way him and Shannon were every fucking night that he wasn't drinking. Either it would be just Shannon getting drunk and being a bitch, or it would be both of them getting drunk and having sex. Now, I like Shannon, but it don't matter what your fucking excuse is. Oh, well, I wasn't doing it to you. It doesn't matter if you did it to me. Let's say we go into a court of law, Shannon Alvarado, and that judge has work to get done. That judge doesn't have to sit down with the computer and do a whole bunch of type in and go through a whole bunch of fucking evidence right there. He doesn't. He just needs to focus on what? His job right then and there. Now, is he going to be able to do his job if you and Rick McCormick are fucking screaming at each other until 4 o'clock in the fucking morning? No. No, that judge is not going to be able to get his job done. with you screaming at the top of your lungs until 4 o'clock in the fucking morning. And maybe you're not screaming at the top of your lungs. You notice how many police officers, after being condescending, talking down to me and raising their fucking voices, when I talk to them like this, they say, you need to stop yelling at me. Bitch, I can yell. This isn't yelling. This is me getting excited. If I want to yell, I can be extremely fucking loud. Last time that Leslie accused me of yelling, I'm fucking sick of that shit. I am fucking frustrated. Instead of you taking it personal like a butthurt little bitch, understand that I am frustrated and you saying it's not my fault, it's not my fault, it's not my fault. I'm not blaming it on you. But every time you say it is not your fault, it becomes your fault. Because at that point, rather than doing something about it, you're busy cutting me off and making excuses. And no, I do not trust you if you're repeatedly cutting me off and making excuses. You weren't there for the shit that I'm telling you about. So you need to shut up and listen to me. And many of you have this idea of, oh, well, Sean, you need to give us that same respect. No, the fuck I don't. I have given all of these people that respect only to not have it in return. Meanwhile, I'm the one living the situation. All they have is their goddamn opinions of it. Well, the bollingers pretend that I was trying to kill them with a fucking water pistol filled with jalapeno juice. Alicia Bollinger, in fucking specific, she's cruising around with her dad, doing methamphetamines, driving 120 miles an hour through multiple fucking states, with one of her actual predators who carries loaded firearms with him. This man is in a fucked up mental state from his drug use, and he has a loaded firearm, and you guys think that I am the fucking threat. And that's what's wrong with the media. That's what's wrong with the whole fucking country. Let's see. Jason from Guitar Center typed hi. Hi, Jason from Guitar Center. I used to play guitar, never got any good. Used to play violin, I was pretty good at that though. I had my first violin for 3 days before I could play everything I could hear in my head on my violin. I still don't know how to read music. So, all of these tactics, these things that I warned you about, these things that I spoke out about for years and years and years before this situation with Natalie, about how the term mentally ill is used to victimize the victims, how you can rape them until they're suicidal, and then you get to play like you're the good guy for rescuing your daughter by sending her to a mental institution where she can get the help she desperately needs. No, what she desperately needs is for you to get your fucking dick out of her and leave it out of her. Ted Bollinger, those are not your daughters. Those are sexual fucking objects to you, you sick son of a bitch. Meanwhile, many of these people who want to harm me, their excuse is what? That they think I'm a Ted Bollinger. I've never been and I'll never be. So I got to go to the very same cops that I've been trying to turn in. Meanwhile, no law enforcement agency will do anything. Each of these places that I call, they tell me that it's not their job. And each of these other places tell me, oh, well, no, it is their job. I can't make them do their job. Well, if they're telling me that it's not their job and they are in a position of public service, shouldn't something be done? You tell me I got to go to a civil thing and I have to be able to hire a lawyer. That's how they fuck you and separate you and fuck you some more. These are criminal acts that were committed by these people in positions of public health and safety. They abuse their power. And then you call me a liar. And then this shit happens to Dmitry Shankling at the hands of those very same officers. Happens to Michelle Rodriguez at the hands of those very same officers. Happens to Zaid Atkinson and Samuel Leon Lawrence IV. Happens to Tybra Hatay. And then you care. Then you're like, oh, these poor victims, these poor victims. These poor victims because they're black. These poor victims, these poor victims, these poor victims. But I wasn't treated that way, was I? No. When these very same officers did these very same things to me first, you could have put a stop to it by taking a look at both sides instead of this vigilante bullshit. The truth should have come out in court. Instead of this bullshit. Instead of the truth coming out in court. The media was used to make me a target. The police intentionally misused their positions to harm me and to get away with it. Oh, well, he's just a retard. We can beat him up. It's no biggie. We'll just call him mentally ill and it's okay. And Miss Peaches is like, it doesn't matter how many witnesses there are if they're not going to listen to any of them. No, it actually does matter how many witnesses there are. Because there are ways to make them listen. Go in together. Sin. Safety in numbers. If you got to go turn in your rapist and your rapist happens to be a cop, I would hope that you're smart enough not to go in by yourself. In many of these cases, I was reporting the situation with the officers. And after getting my stuff back, there was stuff missing. In many cases, they withheld this evidence to prevent me from using it to defend myself against the state of Colorado. Officers here in Nebraska and in Wyoming did this, as well as officers in the great state of Washington. But I documented it. I didn't just talk about it. I showed you those situations. Yes, there is still a video here on my YouTube of a dude passed out at a bus station in Tacoma, Washington with a fucking heroin rig still dangling out of his fucking arm. The police didn't even fucking show up. Neither did the ambulance. The fire truck showed up. That's who showed up. Oh my God. See, then we've got the wrong professionals doing the wrong shit. Like here I am. I'm trying to turn in bad officers. So they're trying to have me committed to a mental hospital because I'm trying to turn in bad officers. It doesn't matter what I say. They've listened to the cops. They don't want to get in trouble. So they're going to do what the fuck the cops say. Meanwhile, it's the cops I was trying to turn in who brought me into the fucking place. And then I tell you, hey, I was trying to turn in those officers. I need a police officer here because those officers broke the law and harmed me repeatedly, but you're going to treat me like I'm schizophrenic because the cops came in and told you that they want that as a diagnosis. So when I'm telling you that those cops did bad shit to me, and it's going in one fucking ear and right out the other one, and I'm telling you, first of all, I need a police officer, and second of all, you need to keep your drugs away from me because you're not going to like the way they react with my system. And then you deny me the right to a police officer. You force those drugs into me. They have the reaction that I told you that they would, and then you pretend that I am a criminal for the way that I acted while under the influence of your fucking drugs. But it's okay, because mentally ill, right? And a lot of these folks, it's really fucking disturbing to me how many of them said they couldn't make time after leading me on for months and months and months. And this whole time, I'm having to take abuse because I have to wait on them. Because I've been called mentally ill, I have to wait on someone to give a shit, on someone to care enough to make the time to keep their goddamn word in a timely and efficient fucking manner. Because if it takes you 2 goddamn years to keep your fucking word, the statute of limitations is over. These fucking predators got away with it. Ted Bollinger can fuck your daughter now too, dumbass. Tim Beeson can go to your kid's fucking school on his Harley Davidson and try to use his motorcycle to impress your pretty little girl into spreading her goddamn legs. And yes, you see her as a pretty pink fucking rifle. But your daughter gets horny too. And your daughter, like most girls in America, is a fucking idiot because you say girls mature faster than boys. No, they don't. They mature physically faster than boys, but mentally, they stay the same. Mentally, boys do grow out of this fucking incessant high school bullshit games. Most men eventually grow out of this by the time they're 25. They are fucking sick of it. By the time they are 25, they are sick of women. And why is this? Why is this that we've got so many men who would rather pour their heart, soul, and emotion into a fucking video game than their own wife, their own girlfriend, or the girl who just wants his attention? Because of those fucking high school games that you continue to perpetuate. The fucking popularity contest. You start putting on makeup when you're 13 because you want to be popular. And then at 65 years old, you're still painting your face and trying to take the creases out of your fucking wrinkles. Dear God, you perpetuate it. And then you say it's not your fault that men expect it. What men are expecting this from you? The first thing I see when I see a woman walking in high heels, the first thing going through my high heel motherfucking head, because I have worn high heels, is that girl is a fucking idiot. You want a decent woman? Look at her feet. Does she buy sensible shoes? Then she's going to be fucking problems. She's going to be drama. She's going to be manipulation, and she's going to be fucking bullshit. She's going to be $400 of lead fucking paint on a $30 fucking vehicle. Sean, don't say that. That's sexist. No, the fuck it's not. It's not sexist to say that we teach girls different than we teach boys. It is not sexist to say that we treat girls differently than we treat boys. It is not sexist to say that we cannot base all of American society off of the rich. Okay, so a female CEO in the United States of America who is part of a multi-million-dollar business, she's going to make about 70% of what a man in that position is going to make on average. Okay. How many of you are CEOs? I know I've asked that already, but I'm going to ask it again. How many of you are the chief executive officer of a Fortune 500 company? How many? There's a lot of people that are saying, hey, we need to support black business. We need to support black business. You know, they had the same thing back during the late 80s and early 90s and 2000. It became a big major thing too about we need to support women-owned businesses. No, we don't. No, the fuck we don't. I know a lot of people who loved Walmart until Sam Walton died. Now, when you look at his legacy and you look what the man did and you see where he spent his profits, you realize that there really wasn't any profits. He spent all of his fucking money on poor people. He improved neighborhoods. He made the world a better place. And then he died and his fucking kids turned out to be, well, inherited wealth, just like Donald Trump. They think that the right and wrong would be based upon who is right and wrong. You would think that the balances would be the same. If this girl is saying something and this boy is saying something, then we should look into both sides, should we not? But when you go, oh, well, you know, he's a male, so obviously he doesn't need as much help as a woman. You've already made a judgment right there, not caring if it's right or wrong, which means that you have now done wrong. You are now passing judgment without looking at both sides, not just judging. I judge people all the time. When I was homeless, there were all sorts of people that I judged as drug addicts. Most of them because they were drug addicts. There's lots of people that I judged as alcoholics. Most of them because they were alcoholics. Some of them I judged as manipulators because most of them are manipulators. Often they were manipulators because they were drug addicts or alcoholics. But did I pass judgment on them? Well, no. Not unless they were passing judgment on others and it was causing others harm. Then I'm going to tell you, yeah, your alcoholism is hurting people. Your heroin addiction is hurting people. But I will still give you a motherfucking blanket. I will still walk you to the warming center. Even if you are so fucking batshit crazy because you're fucking blitzed on Jägermeister and schnapps, yeah, I will still walk you to the motherfucking warming center. If you can't make it to the warming center, I will give you a fucking blanket. A lot of y'all, your solution to your problems is to drink them out and tell other people how to live. Well, that don't make no damn sense. You want to encourage somebody, but you're not going to help them. Then you're not encouraging, you're instigating. What Natalie and her friends and family did to me, they got away with by calling me mentally ill. They were able to prevent other people from looking at the things that I was trying to show, through some of the most fucking inhumane tactics. Like, how the hell could somebody do those things and be fine with it? Hell, I did those things back. And not all of them, obviously. But just doing those things back, I had to psych myself into for weeks. Like, no, this isn't something that I want to do. But no matter what, with these people threatening me and the cops doing nothing and making all these excuses why it's okay, I have to do it myself. I have to commit that crime myself in order to show that the cops are not doing their fucking jobs. Because if it's okay for them and it's wrong for me, then it shows there is no equality. There's no balance. There's no scales. And then these police officers, they got the police officers union. You get busted raping somebody while on the job, but it's not on camera. Well, who's going to pay for that? Every police officer in America is paying for these police officer unions. So these police officers are paying for rapists with badges to get away, to get the best lawyers that money can provide. Some of whom can go into Congress and lobby for laws that will protect their clients when they rape people. Why is it that for all of these years in so many states, it's legal for a police officer to fuck someone while on duty? Well, it's not that it's wrong, it's that, we just never had any reason to put those laws there. Well, if police are fucking people on the job, then there is a reason for you to fucking put that law there. If police are getting away with it by calling their victims mentally ill, then obviously those police need to be monitored. When it comes to child care, we are extremely insistent on being able to monitor that, right? Now, as the teacher, got a big ass fucking gun attached to her hip when you go in there. No, she does not. She's charged with those children's safety, though, isn't she? If you go to her because you need her to watch your kids, her job is to watch your kids, you're paying her to watch your kids, then you kind of expect her to do her fucking job, don't you? Especially if you're paying for it. Now, then there's the assholes who are like, oh, well, you're a low income family, so the government's paying for it. And since the government's paying for it, you have no right to bitch. Really? So if the government's paying for my child care and the person who is watching my child rapes my child, that should be okay because the government paid for it? The government just took your taxpayer dollars to pay someone to rape my fucking child, and I should shut up about it because I didn't pay for it? No. At that point in time, I got every right to be pissed off at you for paying for it. You're not doing anything to stop it. Hey, we're going to take your money and we're going to go protect a bunch of rapists. Are you fine with that? So these things right here. If I am attacked by bollingers, is this going to do me any good? No. If Ted Bollinger shows up with a firearm all methed out of his goddamn gourd, how much good is this thing going to do me? None. Do I consider this a personal protection device? About as much as a personal protection device as a fucking stick or a rock. If you're assaulting me and it's the first thing that my hand fucking grabs, yeah, it's a personal protection device. If all I can get my hands on is a fucking purse or a handful of change or a handful of dirt or a handful of fucking hair, for Christ's sake. Whatever it takes to defend my life, those are my loved ones, right? Things aren't what they seem. They never are. But at the same time, when you take away a man's right to defend himself, and then you allow his predators to continue to harm him and make every excuse to look away. And what are these excuses? Well, shit, go back through my videos. You can hear those officers making those very excuses in real time on those videos. A lot of those videos were recorded live. And a lot of them in the situations that I was in, well, actually, all of them were recorded live, just not all of them were broadcast live. I don't know, you want that good looking dude to like you. You want to talk about how men are superficial and how all they care about is looks, but you're the one painting your face. I don't paint myself like that. I'm not the one putting high heels on your feet. Sensible shoes. Sensible shoes. I can understand if you want to look pretty. I really can. No, I can't. I've never been pretty. Never. When I look in the mirror, I don't see an ugly person or a good looking person. I just see a person. I spend a lot of time in front of mirrors, and not just to fucking stare at myself either. There's a lot of stuff that you guys are used to and grew up with that I had to practice, and I practiced in front of a mirror. I first started doing that when I first started learning how to do magic tricks. Now, why don't I do magic tricks here? Hey, Sean, do some stupid human tricks for us. Kind of like dogs, you know, they want to feel good, like they're being a part of the pack, like they're contributing. But you make them do stupid human tricks for them treats. That ain't gonna teach them nothing except to do stupid human tricks. And also that they should expect food as a reward. I'd rather reward dogs with love. I think it works better, and it does. Now, Lan Engeline, she's got a different opinion on that. You know, her opinion is that dogs are motivated by food. And they are. Most animals are motivated by food. Humans are motivated by food. A lot of these people who tried to pacify me, not do their jobs, they tried to pacify me with food. Oh, well, sure, I didn't do my job. Here's a fucking sandwich. Well, thank you, fuck you, and good night. We're at the point here, though, where, you know, guns, right? These are not real guns. But we're also at a point where ammunition sales have sold out in record time. Gun sales sold out in record time. I mean, if you start looking at all these different gun sites, you know, you look at these different websites that sell firearms and stuff like that. I mean, you're looking at sold out, sold out, sold out, sold out, sold out. And then you look at the style of guns that people are buying, and they're buying milsurp. What's milsurp? That's military surplus. Um, you want to have the same rifle as your boys in uniform. If there's a fucking fight in the middle of Chapel, Nebraska, and you got 4 dead soldiers with M16s, well, you probably want to go grab their ammunition real quick. Also, you would probably rather have your own rifle than theirs because you don't know where it's zeroed in at, you don't know where it's sighted at, you're not familiar with their fucking firearm in specific at all. You are familiar with yours and how it performs and functions with those different rounds. Personally, if I was to, I'd want to know who my most likely enemy is, what rifle they are most likely to be carrying, and then get something in that caliber, you know? But that's the situation with, if you're in that situation, there's going to be plenty of those things laying around. You don't need one ahead of time unless you're on the first wave. If you're the forward echelon of this fucking blood and guts grinding gears son of a bitch, well, yeah, you probably should have one prepared ahead of time. But if you're in Chapel, Nebraska, let's say we get invaded by, I fucking hate flies. Let's say we get invaded by Russia, which not really that likely of a thing to happen. But if we get invaded by Russia, they're not going to land here. They're going to fucking drop a bunch of bombs here because we've got a bunch of damn Minuteman missile silos. The first thing they're going to do is drop bombs here. If they're going to drop troops anywhere, it's going to be on the East Coast, the West Coast, or coming up from the South. There is a possibility, because it's Russia, they might just come over the top of the earth and travel down through Canada. But then you got to look at the logistics of all these different options. You either got to go all the way through some oceans and Canada, or you got to go through some oceans and Mexico, or you got to go through some oceans on either side. And whether you go through the ocean, over the ocean, under the ocean, you still have to make that travel happen with enough men and machines to accomplish the task at hand. And when you talk about the United States of America, especially places like Chapel, Nebraska, there are more guns than people in this state. You would need to have an invasion army larger than the population of the United States in order to take over the United States. That means that they would need to find some way to get 350 million people across these oceans. And that's just to get them here. If you shoot some of them down along the way, or their airplanes don't work, or their ships don't work, or it just takes them too fucking long to get here, well, that's just too fucking bad, isn't it? If we get invaded by Russia, my neighbors here in Chapel, Nebraska, if they see Russians coming out of the sky with rifles and parachutes, these Nebraskans will fucking kill them. That's just how it'll go. There won't be any arguments. There won't be any wait for them to get to the ground and ask if they speak fucking English. It'll be a matter of blam, 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 go pick up the hamburger. Congratulations, Schwartz, you just got an AK-47. Cool. Congratulations, Schwartz, you just got a Makarov pistol. Cool. How much ammo do I have? You know? Or if it's the case of an American rifle, an AR-15 or M16 variant, which these are all based off of, well, I'm sure that it won't just be Russians who are getting shot if there's bullets being exchanged. There'll probably be an American or two who is either dead or wounded, whose rifle is not currently being used, and if it's not being used, I am a hell of a shot. If I have to pick it up and shoot back, fuck it. Of course, at that point in time, if that soldier is still alive, I would rather spend my time trying to prevent that soldier from dying than wasting my time trying to end more lives. And that's why you have a combat fire team. You got your guys you got your long range riflemen, you've got your light machine gunner, and then you've got all of the other people that are setting up for cover fire. I mean, you're using your light machine gun, sometimes like a heavy machine gun. It's just suppressive fire. It keeps the enemy's head down. I mean, sure, the bullets aren't necessarily going to hit them, but it's going to bounce all around them enough to scare them enough to keep their head down. And while they got their head down, they don't have their eyes up on the prize. You got plenty of time for your troops and your men to travel, to move, to outflank them. Um, there's the bluffing tactics. Like let's say let's say one of my friends had an AR-15. You got like 6 dudes who are Russian with AK-47s, and they want to fucking say that they own Chapel, Nebraska, and all I got are fucking these things. Well, if I got 6 to 8 friends, we could set them up with these toys, and as long as we can bluff them into thinking they're severely outnumbered by boys who know what the fuck they're doing, you might be able to get them to put down their arms and say, all right, we don't want to fight. Heck, if you can make some realistic enough dummies or set them up far enough distance, you might be able to achieve such a thing by yourself, but that takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of movement, a lot of things that'll get you busted in a situation like that. So all these people have these great ideas, but they're not they're not understanding the logistics of it. They're looking at it as a fantasy point of view, like Dennis Dickinson across the street. We were having a conversation a few years ago about how the only way to change things is to try to change it from the inside before it's too late, and guns are the only option. And Dennis is telling me, well, really, I think the only option we have now is civil war. But is Uncle D going to fight in a civil war? No, he's not. He's not even going to speak up. So, really, what good is his fucking opinion? He's not going to follow it. He's not going to do anything with it. Oh. I got some sort of nastiness in my ear, and I don't know how to get it out. Sorry about that, folks. A lot of people think that they have a need for, oh my God, that is a lot of nastiness. That makes sense why my ear hurts. Let me see. I don't want to wipe that on my pants. Oh, I don't know why not. Everything else is wiped on my pants. No, I don't need a Kleenex. I'm a real gooder punk. I'll wipe my nose on my sleeve. Bad joke. There's a lot of stuff that I say that is, well, pretty fucking obviously either rhetoric or sarcasm. But because I said it and I'm called mentally ill, it must mean that I'm serious. When people threaten to kill me, they quite often tell me, oh, I was just joking. I was just joking. This is later on once they realize that, yeah, I'm not going to just take it and shut up. I'm going to fucking say something. I'm going to speak out. Like, oh, well, I was just joking, like Sandy did. Oh, I was just joking. Or like Robert Warnick did. Oh, I was just joking. No, you fucking weren't. You didn't say it in a joking fashion. It wasn't a hilarious thing. After everything that I've been through, you'd think those would be the least likely things that you would try to fucking joke about. Feels like there's a big hard chunk in there. Probably because there is. When you're called mentally ill, people can do whatever they want, and the only thing that's going to stop people from doing whatever they want to you is someone who cares, who says, hey, I know you called him mentally ill, but he's still a human. It is still wrong for you to do these things to him. It is wrong for you to treat human beings like animals, and calling him mentally ill doesn't make it okay. It doesn't justify what you've done. You don't get to threaten a man repeatedly and harm him repeatedly and assault him repeatedly and send people after him repeatedly over your fucking pride and your bullshit, and then play victim when he screams at top of his lungs about what you're doing. When I screamed about how I was treated by the border police and how they refused to give me the name of the officer who assaulted me, nobody gave a shit until he was all over the news for assaulting other people. Now, why was it that he was all over the news for assaulting other people? Because the people who should have spoke up in my case, who didn't, were willing to do so for others. But that's where it comes down to telling the right fucking lie. There are certain things that if you accuse somebody of, they don't want to fucking help. Or they want to fucking hide their name. Well, if you're going to hide your name in a scenario where somebody is called mentally ill, you're not helping. You're making things worse. Because in that case, the only thing that you can do to help that person is to step up to the plate and go in with them. Go in with them when they have to go to court. Go in with them when they have to make a police report. If Ted Bollinger shows up here with a gun, do I have a fucking gun to point at him? Let me show you my personal protection device. It's hot pink. Do you know why it's hot pink? So it's easily identifiable, easily noticeable. If I pull all the shit out of my pockets, I know exactly what this is immediately. It's pepper spray. If you assault me, this is for spraying in the eyeballs. That's what it's meant for. Now, if I say, hey, don't assault me. If you try to assault me, I'm going to spray you in the eyes with my pepper spray. I'm not threatening your life. I am warning you that I am willing to defend mine. But that doesn't matter, does it? No, it doesn't. I have a penis. So I'm automatically in the wrong. Oh, wow. You guys ever seen a brown recluse? See if I keep this guy on the mouse. Oh, you fucker. I was going to try to show him to you on the mouse, but he jumped off the mouse and started walking my direction. I blew him off the counter here. If Ted Bollinger comes up here, or one of his friends, one of his cronies, wants to pull some shit, I will end up dead. If they got a gun, they will probably shoot me from a distance and probably in the back. But just in case they want to come up and push and shove and be assholes first, I can't exactly run away. If I spray them in the eyeballs with this, I'm still not going to be able to run away fast enough for them not to catch up with me and do me some severe harm. But while they're blind, at least I can do something to inhibit them, to slow them down a bit. At least I could try. That's where most of these people went wrong. They said, I can't, but they never fucking tried. When I said I can't, there's a reason for it. The laws prevent it. They literally prevent it. I'm not allowed. It's not I can't because I didn't make an effort. I made hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of phone calls worth of fucking effort. So obviously it's not that. Anyway, I'm sorry for going off for the last few hours, but Jesus fuck, man. It's been a few days. The closest thing that I have to I have this thing. Now let me show it to you. This right here is a flare pistol. See these things right here? They're flares. In case of emergency, I can signal to the rest of the neighborhood that Ted Bollinger is here trying to kill me. Lovely, right? But it's plastic. See? And it's not something that you can put a real sized shell in. This will take up to a 2-inch shell. You notice that these shells are longer than 2 inches, but you see there's a lip right here. Inside of here, you see how there's a lip on it as well? You can't put real 12 gauge ammunition into here. It just won't fit. It won't go in far enough. The hammer and everything is plastic, but if you look at we'll push through the hammer spring real quick. Sorry, I'm trying to show you what it looks like. It's a piece of plastic with a little metal pin coming out of it. And that's a firing pin. These things, I'll show you the back of them. They work the same as a regular bullet. They got a number 12 primer in it. Maybe that's number 9, I don't know. But it's got a primer, and that little thing hits the back of the primer, and this thing goes boom. This thing has a very tiny bit of powder in it. Also, the casing on this is a lot thicker than it is on a regular 12 gauge shotgun shell. So this casing itself helps to contain some of the powder and prevent this thing exploding right in your fucking face. Now there's a Serbu firearm, Mark Serbu. He made a shotgun that has 3 shots. It's called the Super Shorty. It's got an underbarrel magazine, which is it's a tube, and when you have it fully loaded, you've got 2 in the tube underneath and 1 in the chamber, and that's 3 rounds maximum. You can have up to 4 of them if you have some really, really super short shells. But those super short shells, they're still a quarter of an inch too long to fit in this thing. So it's not like somebody could even accidentally make that mistake. If you fire a 12 gauge cartridge out of this that is unsafe, you did it to yourself. That's something that I wanted to bring up because a lot of people keep saying that I did things to myself. No, I didn't. A lot of people said that I deserved this and I did it to myself and so on and so forth. And no matter what I say, that's their excuse. I did it to myself. I was assaulted by the police. Oh, well, you did that to yourself. No, I didn't. I didn't assault myself. The police did that. They did that because between doing their job and playing vigilante is what they are trained to fucking do. They are also trained to know who they can go vigilante on and who they can't. You're a homeless male who is not good looking? You're over the age of 65? Well, fuck yes, free victim for life. You're the pretty wife of a rich Boulderite? Oh, well, we better do exactly as you say. Oh, there was a homeless person sleeping under the bushes 3 blocks away. We'll go and take care of that right away. Oh my God, I don't know if he was on heroin or if he was on drugs or I don't know. I don't feel comfortable with them in the neighborhood. Yeah, and they don't feel comfortable being in that fucking neighborhood either. They just want to get a fucking night's sleep. It is illegal not to own property, and here is why. Because nearly everything that you guys get away with in your own households is illegal or impossible. A lot of people say, don't say impossible. That's not the truth. Well, quite improbable, I suppose, is the best way to say something like that. But that's where logistics come in. And logistics, you won't know unless you're aware of the scenario. And you won't be aware of the scenario if you're busy telling the person who's in the scenario what the scenario is. If there's a bridge going across the river, or I need to build a bridge across the river, I need to be able to find a way to ford this river every single day, and you promise to help me. Sean, if you do this for me, I'll help you to ford the river. All right, well, cool. So I put in the actual work, not just telling you what to do, but actually putting efforts towards doing those things with you and teaching you how to do those things. And in many cases, these people are like, man, I really need to know how to do this. I need to know how to do this. I'm like, me too. I'll learn how and then I'll teach you. And then I learn how. And they're like, all right, well, could you do it for me? No, no, I can't do it for you. I have my own shit that I got to do. I can do it with you. If there's a situation where I was a witness to a crime, that I can do that for you. Yes, I can write down the truth on a piece of paper and take it down to the sheriff's office. I can do my best to make a copy of it and make sure that you get a copy of it. If I talk to any police officers because you asked me to, then I'm going to document it. And I'm going to tell you the name of the officers that I spoke with. I'm not just going to tell you what to do. Oh, well, you should call the cops. You should call the cops. You should call the cops. I told you my reasons why I'm not allowed to do these things, and you tell me they're excuses. Then you look back at the videos, you realize they're not fucking excuses. It's legit. There are certain things that make you more or less of a human being to American cheapskate society. And this whole society is based on being cheapskates. The founding words of this great nation were what? I guess it doesn't matter anymore. We the people only means we the people if we work together. We are not working together. We are working against our best interest by being at each other's throats while we talk about how the whole nation is doing great because the NASDAQ raised 1.5 points. I don't got any points in NASDAQ. I don't got any stocks in NASDAQ. Shit. I got this here bag of cheese. Cost me $6. This is a luxury item. It's cheese. It's not 40 pounds of makeup. It's not $1,100 in shoes. It's food. Food is a luxury item. Yeah, it's the type of food, right? Well, it's food that keeps. It's kind of chilly out here, and this cheese here is kept for about 2 weeks. If I had a piece of chicken out here, it wouldn't have lasted 2 days. And I'll show you what I mean. I got some lunch meat at the same time that I got that cheese. Here's a piece of meat, the remainder of one of my sandwiches, hard as a rock. And almost half of it had to get tossed because it went bad. The bread is also hard as a rock. But yes, I bought meat. I bought bread. I bought crackers. I bought tuna fish. I bought stuff that is supposed to be responsible. And of course, I got cheese, a luxury item. A lot of people consider meat a luxury item. You know what's sad about that? A plant can't fight back. A plant can't even scream for help. A plant can't run away. Plants have nerve endings. Plants have a central nervous system. We like to consider plants brainless, but really they react in a similar fashion to many animals that we know of that do have brains. And yes, it's a reaction sometimes, like a Venus flytrap. The fly lands on it, the trap closes slowly, but it's only closing because the nerves that are on the inside of it have been agitated, and that's what tells it to close. But that's not the end of the cycle. It's not like it closes up around the fly and then it eats and digests the fly like you or I would. No, what it does is once it's wrapped up the fly, that fly slowly starves to death inside of that little pod. Also, because that pod is closed, it's cut off its nerve ending thing, basically telling it, well, you can die now. So that pod with the dead fly in it will dry up and fall to the ground and become nutrients. Venus flytrap doesn't have a stomach. It's not going to digest things the way that you or I do. But it still eats, does it not? I'm glad that I have these luxuries. I'm sure there are places all over the world where eggnog has never been tasted, never been seen, and probably even never even been heard of. But also, in a lot of those places, people are able to do things we are not allowed to do in the United States. If you're in a country where the most, food that you guys get to eat comes from growing your own rice, your own tomatoes, growing your own goats. A lot of people in the United States, they scoff at goats. 90% of the world's population eats goat. So Americans are pretty fucking spoiled as far as that goes. Almost 30% of the world's population, or the world's countries, horse is considered meat, same as the cow. Then there are countries on earth where it would be considered wrong for you to kill a cow. Cows are sacred, but you can still kill a horse and eat it. It all comes down to how you were trained. A lot of people are taught that dogs are food. Here in the United States, we're like, ew, that's gross. A lot of people are taught that grub worms are food. Here in the United States, we're like, ew, that's gross. Well, okay, you were taught to believe that that's gross. That doesn't mean that it doesn't still contain the same nutrients. Sure, spinach is gross, but it's high in iron, high in potassium, I do believe. I could be wrong about that. I like fresh spinach, just not spinach in a can like Popeye the Sailor Man. Toot toot. And you're welcome for the long ass ramble. Things will change when we make them change. But as long as the popular people keep working together the way that they do, and all the dorks, instead of working together, try to impress those popular people, we the people of the United States are not we the people of the United States. It's a goddamn popularity contest. The democracy only works if the people are informed. If people are not informed, they cannot make an informed decision. Many of the decisions that I made were based on lies and deceit, and also my safety and the safety of those around me. The fact that I was manipulated into doing those things by backing me into a corner and poking me with a stick. Meanwhile, I'm trying to tell the cops, I'm trying to tell anyone who will fucking listen what's going on at this point in time. Anybody who would listen before Natalie was killed, anyone who would listen, hey, I need help. Oh, Sean, you should do this, you should do that, you should do this, you should do that. No, you should shut the fuck up and find out what kind of a river we're trying to cross here. Maybe you should look at the fucking river before telling me that we just need to build a pontoon bridge. Maybe you should look at the river before you tell me that we should just put a boat in. Maybe you should look at the river before making a bunch of suggestions. Because if your suggestions aren't going to work, and I have seen the river and have experience with this shit, so if I'm telling you that it's not going to work and I have seen the river, and you're going to say I'm just making excuses, you're a piece of shit who is never going to help anyway. And you're a compounded piece of shit for pretending that you would. A lot of people say, Sean, you shouldn't burn your bridges. I got to tell you, if the bridge is falling apart and all of the friggin' pieces all the way across it are waterlogged, I'm better off burning the bridge and fording the river underneath. It is better to burn that bridge before trying to cross the river underneath, because then that river is not going to fall down on my, or that bridge is not going to fall down on my fucking head. You can't make the right decisions if you only have half the information. And you sure as hell can't make the right decisions if the half of the information that you got is all based on bullshit. Merry goddamn Christmas, motherfuckers.